All right, folks, we follow up the riveting interview that we just did with the one and only Ralph Reed with our panel. And joining the panel in this hour, we welcome back John Gizzi, Newsmax Washington correspondent, and the president of the Galen Institute, Grace Marie Turner. Good to talk to both of you again.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
All right. Well, the discussion with Ralph Reed centered on his book, but also that his book centers on the moral decline in this country, and how if we don't do something to turn it around, we're just going to continue in that direction, and no nation could sustain itself, I don't believe, with the rate of decline that we've seen in just the past 5 or 6 years. Grace Marie, how do you weigh in on this?
I so agree with him. I mean, the foundation of this country was built upon civil society, individual responsibility, the family as the primary unit supporting individuals and then their communities, and having government closer to the people. That we're moving away from that, so that we wind up with a society that isn't working, and we wonder why it is. Well, it's because the family and our value system and our sense of individual responsibility is being compromised by a bigger and bigger government.
Absolutely. And John, by the way, the picture we have of you now is sans the hat. And I have to say, I became a fan of the hat. It kind of was your trademark. So I don't know why that was done. But anyway.
Bring the hat back.
Bring the hat back. Let's hear it. Bring the hat back. Okay, maybe next time. But, from a policy standpoint, to me, this president and this administration has taken us in the wrong direction. When it comes to everything that Grace Marie just described and everything Ralph Reed talked about as to what we need. He sometimes talks a good game, but even then he doesn't go far enough. Like when he announced that initiative, Brother's Keeper, he touched on the topic that he grew up without a father. He touched on the topic briefly that, skimming the surface, that men should marry the mothers of their children. But, he can't talk about the traditional family. He can't say every child should have a mother and a father, because he doesn't believe that. He touts alternative families. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place.
My own experience in listening to President Obama is that he is someone who very much wants a much greater hand of government in the individual lives of people. The Affordable Care Act is a classic case in point. But we see so many other endeavors on the part of this administration, from the Common Core program, which is new educational reform coming from the Department of Education in Washington, to the My Brother's Keeper program. The common denominator in all this is that these are worthy initiatives, but they could also be handled by individuals, by local government, and by the family first. He sees it the other way.
Yeah.
Steve,
go ahead, Grace Marie. Yeah.
one of the things that we see so much is that government is really competing with many of the institutions of civil society, that adoption agencies and pregnancy counseling centers and the charity, often religious and charity services, are really being shoved aside by government, which sees them as competitors. And that really is dangerous for our society because, first of all, government cannot take over those roles. It's not going to do as good a job, and it really undermines that sense of people coming together to help those that are most in need and most vulnerable in our society.
And do you see it turning around? I mean, as long as this administration is there, I just see it getting worse and worse. And it doesn't matter what the people say, because don't forget, he's got a pen.
Well, I think that's right. And I think that the book in particular that Ralph has written is important because it brings us back to those core values. And they really are core values that make this society and this country, and therefore the government work. The president thinks it starts with government. Government is sort of the last mediator in a civil society.
Right. And John, correct me if I'm wrong. You're probably more up on this than I am, but I think I'm up on it from afar. I've looked at the Christmas cards that the White House sends out every year. I can't recall the word Christmas being involved. I can't recall a Christmas tree, a wreath, anything being included. I think the last couple of years it was just the dogs were in it this past year in the snow. You get the evergreen trees around the White House covered with snow. I think there was even a model of the White House in the last one. But there's no Christmas message on the card.
Well,
I mean, he gives one on video, gives one for Hanukkah, etc. But there's nothing inspiring as it relates to religion coming from this White House whatsoever.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm not on the White House Christmas card list, so I can't give testimony. I am invited to the White House Correspondents' Christmas party at the White House, where I've brought family members to meet the president. I have some very good stories about that sometime. And I do see a spirit of Christmas that's timeless, from the Marine Band playing Christmas carols to the Christmas trees that are brought in, and yes, there are wreaths. But I would be less than honest with you, Steve and Grace Marie, if I didn't say that I've heard some of these criticisms about the secular nature of the White House before. And, Mr. President, if you're listening to Steve Malzberg's show, please, I hope you won't take me off the Christmas party invite list.
I thought you were going to say, please, don't audit him. Anyway, those stories, we'd love to hear them, John, but you got to have the hat on next time if we're going to hear those stories. Let's move very quickly to Putin and the White House. I want you guys to hear, and we discussed this 2 hours ago, John, but I want Grace Marie to weigh in on this also. The exchange with Jay Carney yesterday during the White House press briefing regarding, give a listen to this. We don't have it. Okay. Well, basically it was that Russian TV showed, the anchor on Russian TV said that the Russians are the only country that could destroy the United States. And as he said that, in the background was a mushroom cloud. And the question was posed to Jay Carney, this has to be approved by the Russian government on some level. And Carney said, lots of crazy things are said on TV. I mean, where does the disrespect stop? Whether it's coming from Iran, whether it's coming from Russia, whether it's coming from, a two-bit rogue nation somewhere, it just seems like it's step on the U.S. under Obama, Grace Marie.
Well, and it's not going to stop until the president asserts his power and shows that we are, in fact, the leader of the free world. And it didn't start with Russia and with the Ukraine. It started with Syria and many steps before that, where the president drew a line in the sand and then backed away from it. So he's basically thinking that if he just says something, it'll happen. And he's realizing both of domestic policy and foreign policy, no, you actually have to have good policies and action to back up your words. That's the piece that's not connecting with him. And the world is now saying, how far can we shove America? Because it, of course, makes Putin look that much more powerful if he can make us look weak.
John, Biden was in Poland today, and the Polish president looked at him and said, the United States has to do more because look at all the military buildup that Russia has gone through. And then Biden, when he got a chance to speak, was a little perturbed, and he said, well, we've spent more, than the next 10 nations put together, so we're okay. Poland's scared. Everybody's scared.
Oh, they certainly are, and Prime Minister Tusk speaks from the heart. I think one way that the president would be able to underscore words with action would be to build that missile defense system in Eastern Europe that the Bush administration pursued and the Obama administration canceled. It's that simple.
I couldn't agree with you more, but of course then Kerry would have to apologize to Putin and say we don't want to offend you, because that's what he did yesterday. Anyway, Grace Marie Turner, president of the Galen Institute, and John Gizzi, our friend, Newsmax, the D.C. correspondent, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Bye, John.
Bye-bye, Grace Marie.
Bye. Bye, guys, ladies. Okay, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk to a former Indian Air Force presidential pilot and a Malaysian-based simulator and flight safety instructor and get his take on what he thinks might have happened to that plane on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax Television.
The Steve Malzberg Show.